Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious, back in the bunker, Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, common sense. Okay, so before we get into the bulk of the show, let's see if I can do this. No, I probably can't. Look at how lame I am. That's right there. New Granson sticker. Saw him recently in concert. So I decided to add that to the board. You know, one of the reasons why I have this board behind me is because I want people to know my interest, my views. I want to put them right out there. You know, I don't know if I could ever be a politician, but it's important to me to deliver a message of, like I say, America, the center, and common sense. You know, that's where I stand. You know, I support ideas from the left and the right. And that puts me in the center. And that's where we need to be. We need to be in the center. And one thing that being in the center demands is honesty. I don't want lies. I don't want to believe lies. I don't want to vote based on lies. I don't want to support people based on lies. And that's all we're seeing now. We're just seeing a flood of disinformation, misinformation, propaganda. And it tears apart the fabric of this country. And we're going to see as we go through this show today, you know, some of the lies that are being told and how people just buy into them because it's repeated by the media. You know, I come from a day where, you know, we trusted the media. We trusted them to find a topic, research the topic, and give us information that we could use. But that's not the case anymore. You know, the case now is that it's all going to be slanted. It's all going to be perverted. You know? So, as I've always said, Brandon is more about the entirety of the far left and their exalted leader, creepy Uncle Joe, and the token. Told you it would be a bad idea, and it's been a bad idea. I really defy anybody to tell me where America is more unified or better now. I don't know. I don't see it anywhere. But, you know, we'll get into it. So anyhow, let's kick it off. Putin receives Nobel Prize in Medicine for ending COVID pandemic. Yeah. That's tongue-in-cheek, but makes the point. We've moved on now. Ukraine dominates the storylines on the news, followed by the rising price of everything, and especially gasoline. So, you know, that pretty much frames our show right there. As for me, I'll touch on COVID really quick here. I went 2 whole days without being asked to put on a mask. I went to a urinal, and I was standing there peeing, and a guy walks in, and he peed right in the urinal next to me. And I just thought to myself, wow, I guess we're getting back to normal. It's funny how we all judge what normal is. I honestly now believe AOC is smarter than Kamala Harris. Man, what an insanely pointed observation that is from Cat Turd. I mean, wow. You got 2 of the stupidest people in the world, and they're part of our leadership. And they really are. They really are just cackling idiots. And they're very far to one side, and they're very elitist, and they think only of themselves. That's who they are. I don't argue that if you can. How do you apply for fuel stamps? Yeah, that's where we're getting to now. That is legit where we're getting to. It's getting to the point now where the price of gasoline is so high that for some people, especially gig workers, it's not even worth working anymore. You lose too much just to be open, you know? Woke left says we're racist to care about Ukraine. Now, this is a very interesting one because what they do is they take, like, the Arabs, the Arabics, the Middle Easterners, whatever, I don't remember what box they go in, but, you know, in Syria, and then you take places like Yemen and, you know, other places that have strife, and they say, well, we don't care about those because they're not white. Well, really? And this really goes to the crux of the media issues that I have and lots of people have. I may seem like I'm in a minority. You look at my view count or whatever, maybe I'm in a minority, but my views are actually the majority views. We care about Ukraine for one simple reason. It affects the world. That's it. The Ukraine and Russia are in the top 5 in grain production and gas production, and the world needs grains, and the world needs oil and natural gas. Russia has nuclear weapons. If we were to get involved with, say, a no-fly zone, we could theoretically kick World War III into high gear. I believe World War III has already started at this point. We are in a dangerous time, and to reduce it to a talking point so you can say, oh, it's just about white people. Really? Okay. And again, you know, simply saying that it's about white people really misses the point. I mean, those are Ukrainians. They are Russians, which are considerably different than other members of the so-called Caucasian group. But whatever, just lump us all together. Call us racist for caring that a nuclear power has invaded another country. Okay, sure. Yeah, see, the cackle is back. Kamala Harris starts laughing when she's asked about refugees. We can make excuses and say, well, you know, lots of people laugh when they get nervous. Then why is it that every single time Kamala Harris is put in front of the public, she ends up cackling? Is she nervous about everything? Is she, maybe she's not a psychopath. Maybe she realizes that she's lying about a lot of shit and she's uncomfortable with it. Maybe she doesn't have a good poker face, like Biden and Psaki, who can just lie right out of their ass and tell you it's rainbows and unicorns. I don't know. Speaking of her, the Chucky doll, I don't know why I even remotely find her cute. It's a fascinating subject for me to discuss inside my head sometimes. But, you know, this bitch comes out and says that the 2016 election was hacked by Russia. So I guess we're all off the hook now, okay? Because the left is saying the 2016 election was hacked, and the right has doubts about the 2020 election, including myself. And I've been ostracized by people for my beliefs. But now she says that the 2016s were hacked. Okay. All right, so I guess we're all absolved now. We can all just go back to believing that elections are rigged. Yay. Bravo, America, USA. This is a shit show, folks. And it's not, the answer is not going to come from the left or the right. It's going to come from the middle. And if we don't join forces, you know, see, if you look back at it, oh, they hacked our election here. We did not do that, right? We did not you know, she's a word salad in and of herself. So we got a little bit of good news in California, which is something hard to come by here. We actually have a Republican nominee for the governorship. All of them dropped out. We Caitlyn Jenner, Larry Elder, Cox, Faulkner, they're all out. I mean, holy shit, man. The Republicans realize that California is a lost cause at this point because the people are just buying into the lies. They're buying into voting simply because there's a D next to their name. The Democrats, that's their stock in trade, is elitist academics who are too smart for their own good, and undereducated people who simply vote for a D because they think that's the progressive thing to do. Found this one interesting, that Russia controls about 10% of the world nickel supply. And, of course, you need nickel for electric vehicles. And we're already seeing the toxic effects of all of this. We're seeing Aaron Brockovich-style water pollution. It's a effed up one that I just... Anyhow, Aaron Brockovich, a movie about water pollution caused by nickel mining and the resulting chemicals that come out of it and blah, 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 blah. But, the bottom line on this is that electric vehicles are going to get quite expensive. These earth minerals, mining them is not as easy as drilling and pumping. It just isn't. And we're just, as I've said time and time again, we're simply just going to pollute the planet in a different way. I mean, think about electric vehicles for a second. They take, let's be generous and say that to get your electric vehicle going again so you can get to work or get to wherever you're going is going to take, let's say, 20 minutes to fill up. Okay? The average gas, about 5 minutes. So how are all of these electric vehicles going to get charged on the roads without massively overhauling the entire system? And where is all the electricity going to come from? We're not allowed to use nuclear reactors. And as Germany's already proven, wind and solar are unreliable. And they don't provide enough power to sustain Germany. And Germany is the size of Wisconsin. So if they can't figure it out, if the Germans cannot engineer a solution, if they have to go back to burning natural gas to produce electricity, we're doomed. We're doomed in this whole thing. And as we can see right here, here's some stats on it. Check that out for a second. I need some Wawa. But right there, Ford sold 3.9 million vehicles. 11,000 of them were electric. We're nowhere near electric vehicles. We don't have the infrastructure and we don't have the inventory. There is a waiting list for Teslas. That's just the way it is. All right, changing gears. Jesse Smollett will get 5 months in jail. I think that's very appropriate. Okay, it's a high-profile fake lynching. All right, this is something we cannot tolerate. Okay, we can't tolerate this. We need to be able to trust that people who are attacked in the name of racism, that they're telling the truth. We can't keep having all of these false flags being thrown out there. And we've seen it. We've seen people who leave racist notes on their cars, who vandalize their own stuff and claim that it was racism just to get a little attention. But now, let's get into some of the meat of the matter here. Yeah, I'm not running really smoothly this morning, am I? I'm really not. I'll be honest with you. Just one of those days. Long week. But anyhow, Joe Biden here. I'm sick of this stuff. The American people think the reason for inflation is government spending more money. Simply not true. Really? Okay, so supply and demand. Okay? So he threatens the oil industry. Oil's based on futures. So in other words, right now we're using oil that was already purchased. But in the future, they're going to have to purchase more oil. So they predict what the cost of those future barrels of oil will be on the futures market. So when Biden signals that he wants to achieve what Obama did and make gas super expensive so everybody switches to expensive electric vehicles, It's very confusing, isn't it? What do you think is going to happen to the price? And then when there's supply chain interruptions, and then there's the war, and we boycott Russian oil, what do you think is going to happen to the price? It's going to go up. And what happens when fuel costs go up? Delivery costs go up. And what happens when delivery costs go up? That's right. Goods and services cost more. My company pays for my gas. I go through about a tank a week easily. So now my company is making less money because they've got a fleet of vehicles out there that are all costing double. So they have to raise their cost. So the cost of those services go up. When we sell product, the cost of those products have to go up. That's how it works. And having a lot of money printed and floating about chasing fewer and fewer goods, what we talk right here. We got two great tweets that really sum it all up. Like Rick S. up there says, it's an old lawyer trick. If you have the facts, pound the facts. If you don't have the facts, then pound the table. There you go. Paul Clark sums it up. Inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. And when one of those goods is fuel, that's going to drive the cost of everything else up. Remember when gas and grocery prices rose like 300% over 6 months, but then you obediently blamed it on a military intervention that literally just happened? That was awesome. I miss Chris Farley. Love the guy. But that's where the lies and the misinformation and the disinformation come in. You got people buying this. You got people buying the Putin price hike. Bullshit. The prices were going up. The Russian invasion just made a bad situation worse. That's it. Pure and simple. Another thing that's pure and simple, but of course is perverted and convoluted, is the Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. Which, as you can see in this headline right here from the Arizona Republic, I don't understand why these people they're spreading like a cancer. These far left idiots. It has nothing to do with gay. You know? DeSantis rips woke Disney. Yep. Parental rights bill. Wait a minute. Is that the name of it? Yeah. The Don't Say Gay narrative is entirely false. This is where he stood up to a reporter and said, did you even read it? Because what it's really talking about is not talking about any form of sexuality or sexual anything pre-K through third grade. Well, I don't understand. See, okay, so he passes a bill that says, I don't want any sex talk in the lower primary grades. And then other people say, we want sex talk to kindergartners? I don't understand how you're going to take kids that really need to be focused on learning and social interactions and all that, and then you're going to throw sexuality on top of them. Okay? I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't see why you would want that kind of conversation in second grade. I don't get it. But, we live in an era now where people are no longer satisfied to call themselves pro-choice. They want to call themselves pro-abortion. So, everything, I guess, is just getting ramped up. But let's look at this, because I'm not against anybody in the LGBT community at all. I'm not. That's your choice, whether I agree with it or not. If you want to say that you're one of a dozen different genders, I'm not going to say that you should be censored or ostracized or discriminated against. No. I may not believe your definition of a gender. As far as gay and lesbian and transgender people, I have no problem at all with them. At all. I don't understand how transgender people think. I don't understand what's inside of their head, much like they might not understand what's inside of my head as an addict. But I have no problem with them. But let's look at some of these rules here and some of these proposed Arizona laws and other states that what they're doing. banning school instructions on LGBTQ issues, well, it depends on what grade level. Okay? Keeping transgender girls out of girls' sports, I think in a lot of ways that's what I call an exploitable situation. It can also be dangerous depending on what sport you're talking about. And again, there's a simple solution: just make the men's category open. So you could compete in the men's category as a woman. Boom, done. Okay? Women deserve rights. They fought for Title IX. And if guys are going to fake the issue to be in there and to compete, then we need to put a stop to it before it becomes a more widespread problem, before it really starts to affect more and more girls and women. I mean, it's just common sense, We'll get into that a little bit more in a bit here. Let's see. Arizona's proposed legislation that requires schools to out students. Totally against that. That's fucking stupid. That's mean, malicious, and serves absolutely no purpose. Schools should be there to educate. I understand that they're the front line against abuse, and having had parents that were both teachers, I understand that teachers can make an impactful impression on children. And students should not be ratted out to their parents. Allow students to only use the bathrooms that coincide with their sex assigned at birth. Again, they weren't assigned that at birth. That's what they were born. That was what the chemical formula came up with. They came out a girl. Maybe they don't feel that way anymore. I get that. But again, this is an exploitable situation. We've already seen it here in California where, malicious males simply identify as females for their own sexual gratification. It's true. So, again, we have to protect the rights of the majority than the rights of the minority. I mean, it just makes more sense to me. There are lots of girls at school that are just girls, and to allow a boy to go in to a locker room or a bathroom is taking away from the rights of more people than just simply the one. Okay? And physicians providing gender-affirming health care to minors. Well, again, you're talking about a life-altering decision. If you can't get a tattoo until you're 18, I don't understand why you could get a penis at 12 or boobs at 12. It doesn't make much sense to me. I understand the struggles of trans kids. I know trans kids. I know the struggle they go through. The struggle is real. I sympathize with them. But I also know that there is no counterpoint to their feelings of transsexuality. There is no counterpoint. They're not, the psychiatrists and counselors are not allowed to try to delve into the issue. And more we hear stories where people who turned out to be gay found it easier to simply say they were a member of the opposite sex. And that's something that needs to be explored, especially when you're dealing with a young mind. Like, are you a woman or are you gay? Like, because we don't need to give the kid what they say they want. What we need to do is figure out what path that kid should be on. Okay? And the world should be accepting of whichever path they choose. But maybe you are a boy who likes boys, or maybe you are a boy who thinks he's a girl. But unless that's explored, we can't just simply block puberty and start letting them get breast augmentations. I don't think a cis girl can get breast surgery in most states. So why should we flip-flop the rules? We need to protect our children. We don't need to just let them do whatever it is that they say or they think will make them feel better. Because what next? Kids are depressed because they can't drive, so we start giving 13-year-olds driver's license? We have to have some sort of parental control in all of these things. It should not just be a free-for-all. But we should do whatever it takes to make sure that their mental health is looked after in a fair and balanced way. Not just shove one agenda or shove another agenda. That's not always, that's a hard one to talk about. Make this one a little more clear. Texas clinic's lawsuit over abortion ban effectively over. I cannot overstate how much I am against this. I am pro-choice, anti-abortion, okay? That's the way it is. That's how I feel. I do not think that abortion is something that should be celebrated, but it is necessary, pure and simple. And I also, as a pragmatist, a realist, I understand that if, for whatever reason, a woman, a girl, does not want to deliver a baby, they will find a way to abort the baby. And sometimes it's the ultimate abortion where they just throw themselves off a building. I've also seen a story recently, I believe it was in Oregon or Washington. A woman gave birth on a sidewalk. Boom, done, walked off. Left the baby on the sidewalk. Okay? We live in an ugly world, and sometimes there have to be ugly solutions. And as ugly as I find abortion, I see absolutely no justification for making it illegal. This bullshit of letting citizens sue is quite possibly the dumbest thing ever. It is certainly the dumbest thing that the Republicans have ever done, and it sickens me. It absolutely sickens me. It really sickens me that women's rights are treated so poorly in an age where we've realized everybody's rights are important. Oh, God. Just gotta breathe. All right, so let's get into some oil talk here. Biden waged war on fossil fuels. The first day he was in there, he killed the oil pipeline. Okay, now I understand that was going to take some dirty oil or something, pump it down here, and, it's not necessarily like just oil that we're going to be putting, fuel into our cars. I get that. Okay. Yeah, I get that it can still come here without the pipeline, but that involves trucks, which is anti-climate, so you would think the pipeline might be a little bit better as long as it doesn't burst. It definitely produces less, carbon than trucking the shit down here. They're ditching oil drilling in Alaska. Fossil fuel regulations, making it harder for utilities to gain approval for natural gas. And he's aggressively pushed renewable forms of energy despite doubts from experts. And we've seen it. It failed in Germany. France uses a bunch of nuclear reactors. So, if you want to use nuclear reactors to achieve green energy, I'm all for that because that's practical. Wind and sun just doesn't work. We know that. So anyhow, he goes after the oil prices right off the bat. Remember, it's on the futures market. It's speculative. So he's signaling, I'm going to make it hard for people to get to get gas, crude oil out of the ground. I'm going to make it hard. So of course the price goes up. So now we're hitting the point where we're damn near $6 a gallon in California. It is higher than that in some places, but on average, I think we're sitting at like $5.15, something like that. It was $5.69 just the last time I filled up. DeSantis, hopefully our next president. It's wrong for the Biden administration to beg for oil from Venezuela and legitimize Maduro. We should hold Maduro accountable while increasing domestic energy production so we don't need to rely on hostile regimes. We don't like the Saudis. We don't like the Russians. We don't like the Venezuelans. We're going to buy their oil from them. Oh, and throw in Iran. Too bad North Korea. Then we could just have, we could have an even hand of evil assholes that we buy products from. Again, that's why, I propose Made in Americas. North America, South America, Central America. That's who we should be propping up, but not Venezuela because they've got a dictator. Pure and simple. Look at him there. Bronco, summing that up. Look at him. Kneeling on U.S. oil while begging those assholes for oil. That's his solution. That's who you voted for. That's who you think was better than Trump. Okay? Trump was telling those three dudes, fuck you, and he was making that U.S. oil pipeline bigger. Drilling in the United States. drilling oil in Russia, Venezuela, and Iran. What difference does it make? I'll tell you what difference it makes. I'll tell you why they do this. Because at the end of the year, Biden could say, we reduced carbon emissions. We are so good. We're fighting climate change. Vote for us. When in reality, all he's doing is taking our carbon emissions and putting them in another country. He's taking what we do to the environment and putting it in another country. Oh, we're not drilling for oil. No, but if they're drilling for oil and producing massive amounts of carbon footprints all over the planet and chopping down forests and all that, man, look this up, okay? The U.S. is one of the cleanest energy producers out there, okay? We are not the leaders in dumping plastic in the ocean. We are not the leaders in fucking up this planet. We have the ways and the means of doing it cleaner and without involving crushing civil rights and crushing citizens. In other words, no blood for oil, okay? Those other countries, blood for oil. Russia, Venezuela, Iran, they're going to use that money to make the world and their country worse. They'll make their lives better. The leaders will. Nation wishes we had our own oil so we could dig up with big machines and then transport around with some kind of pipeline. See, and that really sums it up right there. Excuse me. It's kind of dry out here. So again, DeSantis bringing up the fact that we're trying to legitimize the Moderna? I don't know. Moderna seems familiar to me. Maybe we'll just call them that. But we have a massive energy reserve. And we should be using it. Not trading one dictator's oil for another dictator's oil. And that's exactly what he's doing. Here's another take on that. Kamala Harris says high gas prices are the price to pay for democracy. Okay. All right, I understand that. But not when the U.S. is sitting on a 200-year supply of oil. We're going to be done with oil in 200 years. Okay? It'll mostly be used for plastics, which, of course, at some point, I think maybe we'll even figure out better ways of making plastics other than using crude oil. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But we should be increasing our own production. We actually are, but we need to ramp it up tenfold. Pete Buttigieg says everyone worried about gas prices should just get a six-figure government job with free car service and an unlimited parental leave. See, that's that elitist attitude of, oh, well, just get an electric car. Oh, what do you mean you can't afford one? I can afford one. That's what we're seeing out of these people. See, and here's some plain facts. The average cost of an electric car is $60,000. So how are people going to afford to buy this mystical electric vehicle, and then they have to figure out how they're going to keep this thing charged? Another elitist, Elizabeth Warren wants to tax oil companies on certain amounts of profit, which doesn't even make sense because they're blaming price gouging on the oil companies. But then does that mean that when the gas prices were low under Trump, the oil companies were just like, we don't want to make as much profit this year. Yeah, profit, it's overrated. It's poppycock. We know why. It's traded on the futures market and Biden made the future uncertain. Boom. That's it. George Takei, another out-of-touch elitist. Stephen Colbert, another one. We can endure higher prices for food and gas if it means punishing Putin. But that's not true. Our fuel and our groceries was going up long before Putin invaded Ukraine. You see, where is it over there, right? There. I did that. I got that sticker like a year ago. I mean, come on. I mean, I understand why people might vote Democrat over Republican, but do it from a place of truth. You're the ones who can hold these leaders. You know, people who vote Republican or independent, such as myself, there's not much we can do to change the Democrats, okay? But Democratic voters can by not voting for them. There you go. Buttigieg telling somebody who drives a 15-year-old Honda to buy a $60,000 electric vehicle if gas is too expensive. Yeah. Yeah. My wife drives a 2005. We're trying to get a new car. It ain't going to be electric. Because we live in California where blackouts are a reality, and I can charge my cell phone off a gas engine. I can't charge my cell phone off an electric engine if I'm then going to risk running the battery down because that's all I have. It's not the same. If there's a blackout... This crazy chick back up here, Lauren B., look at her. Yeah. She gets 2 bells. Cutting off Russian oil is the right move. Doing so without increasing American energy production is insanity. Boom. That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. Why do we have to suffer to make Putin suffer, considering Putin's not suffering? The only people that are really suffering are the average American citizen and the average Russian citizen. Those are the people who are suffering. Yes, the Ukrainians are suffering way more than all of us. I get that. But we're trying to avoid full-on war, so we put economic sanctions. But why do the economic sanctions have to hurt us? Because Biden doesn't want to produce energy. He wants solar panels and windmills. Earl Weber, back in there. There you go, buddy. I'd like a climate activist to explain why buying blood-stained oil from Russia, Iran, or Venezuela is better for the environment than producing our own American oil. Said it earlier. It's all about image. These hypocrites. You see, this is where the brainwashing is really complete. You know, gas has gone up 40 cents per gallon here in New York City since Trump won. Notice how he puts it in quotes. He put it in the quotes. So he's saying, again, in 2016, because this was January 2017, he's saying the election was rigged. But I'm a bad guy. January 6th rioters are bad guys for thinking that maybe there's something fishy about the last election, but yet you think there's something fishy about the 2016 election. But now he turns around this fucking ass-tard Brooklyn dad defiant. I cannot stand this guy. Who else fully understands that high gas prices are not President Biden's fault? Well, not you, because you blamed Trump 5 years previous. I mean, do you not see, like, lots of people are hypocritical, but this is a pure case of where his own words should be seen by him and realize either they are the president's fault or they're not the president's fault. And it is the president's fault. Okay? Oil went up under Trump because, again, it's speculation. You see? People speculated something bad was going to happen when Trump took office and that gas prices would rise. So the futures market reacted by raising it 40 cents per gallon. We're now talking about $2 a gallon, even more than $2 a gallon. We're damn near at $3, doubling plus a few cents. What we had, I mean, the last time I checked gas when Trump was still president, it was something like $2.99 here. We're now hitting $5.69. So, you know, we're damn near $3 up. Nearly double in 1 year of Biden's presidency. Biden spends a lot of time, you know, blaming everybody. Never blames himself. Never takes credit. He says, I'm the president who's going to take credit for my mistakes, and then just makes excuses. So Kilter responds, just so you know, the 20 pounds I've gained since during COVID is all Putin's fault. See, that sums it right up there, doesn't it? I'm going to skip that. There we go. Biden. See, Biden says gas prices are not his fault unless they go back down again. Fact check this. He probably didn't say it. No shit. It's Babylon B. This is satire, folks. But is it? Because when they go back down, he's going to take credit for lowering them. He's going to definitely take credit. Watch. And he won't do a damn thing. They'll just go down. You know, here's Psaki again blaming the oil companies, saying, oh, they have unused permits. Look, these permits are just permits. These leases are just leases. That doesn't mean there's oil there. And it doesn't mean that once the oil comes out of the ground, they could even get it anywhere without employing, you know, a bunch of trucks and truckers that we don't have right now, because all the pipelines, you know, nobody wants pipelines. There are pipelines. People will show you maps of pipelines across the United States and go, look at all the pipelines. Yes, but if the lease is nowhere near one of those pipelines, again, But the lefties, the environmentalist nut jobs, they're the ones who put the regulations in there that make it hard for these companies to actually go in and drill for oil. All right? Yeah. Pete Butterhead says if you don't like gas prices, get an electric car. And Elon Musk says we need to start drilling for oil. Talk about a glitch in the matrix. Yeah, because we're not there with electric vehicles yet. All right, so yeah, these are things I get passionate about, but I want to talk about how stupid that California is, because California is entirely run by Democrats. Okay, so they're talking about this place, this group, social action group, that scrapped together money to buy a 4-unit housing project, right? But it has sat vacant for a year. Okay. While the city pesters the organization with demands for minor changes. It's taken months and tens of thousands of dollars to address the city's seemingly never-ending list of requirements. They had to add 3 parking spaces. Because these are homeless people. They might not even have cars. So, okay, parking spaces. They want paint on the vents on the roofs. Again, these are things that they throw up, and now the nonprofit is on the hook for $40,000 in fees. You cannot profess to be making low-cost housing and then figure out every little thing that you can tax, regulate, and require a fee from and expect it to come out. We have the nation's highest poverty rate here. But what do? They put civil assessments on parking tickets and other offenses, making it harder and harder for people to pay those tickets. And when they don't, they double them. They tried 8 years ago to increase traffic fines. Fortunately, then Governor Jerry Brown vetoed it. And he said it's a regressive increase that affects poor people disproportionately. And that's true. I mean, rich people can park wherever they want, take a $35 ticket, and send it in. It's not the same for you and me. We get hit with even something as small as a $35 ticket. With all the assessments and stuff, it balloons. But because they don't care. And at the end of the day, when Republican legislators in California say, hey, we need to put a complete hold on about the $1.26 that people are being taxed on every gallon of gas. Okay, $1.26 with sales tax and all the shit that's in there. Let's suspend that. And Gavin wants to what? He wants to suspend the gas and diesel fuel tax inflation-related increase. Gas was set to go up 0.8 cents per gallon. 0.8 cents. That's what he wants to give us. The Republicans here are saying $1.25, and he's saying 0.8 cents. How is that going to make any difference? How is it? He comes out and he says, I'm going to have a fuel rebate. And all it is holding off the increase of 0.8 cents. 1 penny. 1 penny. Remember Joe Biden when he said something about Thanksgiving costing the average American save 10 cents on their Thanksgiving dinner? Yeah. Gavin Newsom thankful as fleeing Californians no longer can afford to fill up their U-Hauls. Yeah. It's expensive as crap out here. We were talking earlier about a second ago about the housing thing. Here's one in Rancho Mirage that Disney's doing. Disney, the people who are saying, "Oh, DeSantis, don't say gay bill's mean." Well, look what they're doing. They're putting up a 400-room hotel, 1,700 likely expensive homes, miles of paving. And by the way, paving is worse for the environment than the cars that drive on it. A 24-acre man-made lagoon. Man-made lagoon. So that means you're going to take water. You're bringing in 1,700 people to live there, and you're going to make a 24-acre man-made lagoon. We are in the middle of a drought, folks, here in California. But the builders are the most powerful union, I think, in all of California, because they are building everywhere. All around me right now, I see new construction, and then I hear about the drought. All of these people who buy these houses, who move here, who stay here, who vacation here, they use water. Should we be doing something about figuring out the water situation before we allow projects like that? 24-acre man-made lagoon. That's a lot of water wasted for a bunch of rich people. And they say they care about the poor. Okay. Not even one affordable housing development. No, like affordable housing over retail shops. None. They don't even try to hide it anymore. This is what California is turning into. The enormous development is evidently to be the home and destination of only the well-to-do. And Disney wants to rail about Florida law. Meanwhile, they're involved with something like this. Yeah, that's great. We're gonna skip this one. This was just a quick one. This was tied into, the true cost of what's going to happen with everything switching to electricity. And this person's response was, the mayor in LA threatened to turn off electricity during the pandemic if we didn't cooperate with his rules. I'll pass on an electric car. Yeah, they want to get rid of natural gas in California. Really quick here, we're going to touch on this. Leah Thomas says, I'm a woman, but then basically shits all over women's sports by busting all of their records. And I've read an article. I'm a proponent of making the male category open so somebody like Leah Thomas can compete as a woman in the male category. Not good enough for Leah because that would place him way at the back of the pack because he was not a good male swimmer. Okay? So let's say he's a woman. Let's say you're a woman and you should compete in women's sports. Okay? Yeah, you're suspended. You have too high of testosterone levels. If people could be banned for taking steroids, which are artificial or bull or, it's testosterone. That's all it is. It's testosterone. Leah right here, with her 10 moles threshold, is 4 to 20 times higher than the typical threshold of a biological woman. So basically, Leah Thomas is a woman taking steroids. There you go. There you go. Women have a certain level that they can reach, and it's only about 1.5 nmols or whatever. However you say that, nmols. If she goes to the Olympics, that threshold is 5 nmols, which is still way higher than any woman could actually naturally produce. So therefore, again, it's basically a woman on steroids. So fine. You're a woman. You should compete on the women's team. Now you're suspended because your testosterone levels are too high. There you go. There. Problem solved. Or just make the men's category open. And let Leah race as a girl and lose to men. Instead of the other way around. Sorry, that's... Pfft. So, I'm going to move into a quick little segment here. I want you to really think. If you are watching this and you were a Biden supporter and a Trump hater, and keeping in mind, I'm ambivalent about Trump, whatever. He did a good job. I think he did a good job. And the reason why is because what did he do that made my life harder? What did he do that made my life more expensive? Tim Young here. No, not one person can honestly say this country is better off today than it was a year and a half ago. Tell me. I want to hear where it's better off. Julie Song, shit is so fake that the minute an outsider took office, we got cheap gas, cheap food, became energy independent, no wars, and focused on the country's own issues. Establishment hacks, get back in, and we have inflation, medical tyranny, World War III, and you need to take a mortgage for gas. There. Okay? What did Trump do? What did Trump do that affected you as bad as the bullshit that we're living in right now? What did Trump do? Biden administration is suggesting adding more water to your instant ramen to feel more full. Were you paying more for groceries under Trump? If you've lived through the past 2 years and still believe the government gives a singular fuck about you or your families, I want whatever drugs you're on. Blair White, one of my favorite persons, transgender. Yeah. Okay? I like her. I dig her perspective on life. This administration does not give a fuck about any of us. Did Trump do something? Where did Trump hit you in the wallet hardest? That's what I want to hear. Where did Trump hit you hardest in the wallet? Because guess what? We already know. We saw it last week. We have the proof. We have the receipts. Trump's tax breaks for the rich actually eradicated taxes for the bottom 1% too. I think more than just the bottom 1%. So where did he hurt you? Where did Trump hurt you? That's what I want to know. Did he hurt your feelings? Because that shouldn't matter. Okay? What do you want? Hurt feelings in $3 gas? Or warm fuzzy feelings in $6 gas? 2020, Trump is going to start World War III. 2022, we need to start World War III. You're just flip-flopping. And did Trump start World War III? No. Biden unveils his 2024 campaign slogan. Can't do much about that. That's his response to rising oil prices. Really quick, because we're really running long on time, and I wanted to just show you the other side. Somebody who could have been president, Tulsi Gabbard. I'm Team Tulsi. That's just all there is. But again, she stands up and says that we need to, women need to be defended, and simply saying that people identifying as women should have the same rights as women, and women should give up their rights to placate one or two people who are in their company or the business or school, whatever, is just kind of insanity. She's talking about Kamala Harris's disastrous trip, and she's right. It's dangerous that somebody as unhinged as Kamala Harris is one step away from being the president. And this is the danger of choosing appointing leaders based upon their gender, race, and their loyalty to Washington elite. That's all Kamala Harris is. I'm going to have to skip that one. Oh, boy. Here we go. Ukraine museums desperately working to preserve priceless Hunter Biden paintings. We're saving democracy. I'm saving Ukraine. Remember, always follow the political science. Yeah, Fauci's gone, isn't he? We're not hearing much out of him. George Takei's valet, pool boys, Uber driver informs him that gas prices are going up. These people are just out of touch. Riddler stumps Batman with a question, what is a woman? I heard that about the new Batman. Maybe it's a little bit left-wing propaganda at times. I don't know. I can't watch something with Robert Pattinson. I'm sorry. Much as I love Batman. Hillary vows to stop importing dossiers from Russia. Oh, God, imagine. That's not the best of the week. That's not the best. We're getting to the best. Here's Hillary trying to dig up the Clinton Global Initiative. Really? Democrats, you need to put a stop to this. Amish man smiles smugly as he rides by a gas station with $6 prices. Yeah, we're headed there. We want a decent standard of living. The best I can do is World War III. The guy's a fucking clown, man. Biden sells Alaska back to Russia so we can start drilling for oil there again. I love this one because I found out that, I think it was USA Today or one of these fucking rags, tried to fact check this and say, oh no, that's not true. And it's like, it's the B, dude. It's the B. And yeah, he is pointing out that, like, if Russia owned Alaska, we would drill there. Or we'd buy oil from there. Uyghurs in Chinese concentration camps fly Ukrainian flags so people will start caring about them. Yeah, that's true. That is true. And, you know, unfortunately, the Uyghurs, they don't constitute a global crisis. There's only so much we can do. But personally, like I said, made in America's, let's get the fuck out of China. Fuck those people. Biden complains that the White House staff keeps draping flags over him every time he naps. Oh, man. I saw a thing today, and I forgot to grab it, or maybe it was just somewhere where I couldn't grab it. And it said, you know, why is it that people retire at 65 because they can no longer, like, work, so to speak, and yet our country's run by people well over the age of 65. Yeah, that's what happens. You elected the oldest fucking dinosaur in the room. Oh, I love this one. This one is fucking awesome, man. This just really proves that, like, yes, even conservative-minded people, even centralists, we have a sense of humor. We have a sense of humor. We can laugh at ourselves because we don't come from a position of fragility. Jesus interrupts Sermon on the Mount to deliver 30-second ad read for Patriot-themed emergency food supplies. It's so true. It's so true because a lot of the radio shows that I listen to are sponsored by, like, Patriot food supply companies. So I get this, and I love it because it's funny. It's funny. It doesn't make me question who I'm listening to. So here you go. Here's the best of the week. Attention star Dr. Fauci agrees to box Jake Paul. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we are moving into a time where we're no longer dominated by COVID and COVID protocols, because I'm so sick of the fake doctor here in LA, Barbara Ferreira, who has a doctorate in sociology and is giving me medical orders. Dr. Fauci, a virologist, okay? I don't think I'd want Dr. Fauci treating me if I had a gunshot, because he ain't that kind of doctor. Oh, I'm just so glad. I'm just so fucking glad, man. I really am. Amongst all the shit that we are dealing with right now, I am just glad that at least these goddamn masks, these mask mandates, and these power-hungry medical, whatever they're called, directors of medicine or health directors, fake doctors, basically talking about equity in vaccinations. Oh, Jesus. Man, we're not going to have to hear about it. And, I mean, I feel so bad for the people of Ukraine. I support them so much. We can argue whether or not they're a country worth supporting, but they are being invaded. But I'm just so glad that the focus is off COVID, because that was a big, giant fucking smoke screen. And now that the smoke screen is starting to lift, I hope people can start seeing Democrats, liberal left-wingers, Antifa, BLM, these militant LGBT people. I hope we can start seeing them as the self-centered assholes they are. But before I leave you, man, I want to go back to that question I asked earlier. What in the fuck did Trump do that was so bad? Because we can elect a no-nonsense Republican, and a lot of this shit will go away. But the opposition to that needs to look honestly at that question. What was it that Trump did that hurt you so bad? Copious out.